Ticket to Ride is a game about claiming routes across the United States, trying to be the first player to get all your trains on the board and score the most points. The player who scores the most points wins. I have here 4 players set up. I'll take the red, and we have green, yellow, blue. At the start of the game, you're going to shuffle the train cards. They're blue. You know that they're the train cards because they all have different boxcars or engines on them. We want to give each player 4 of these to start. Now these cards we'll use to claim the routes on the board. As you can see on the board, all the routes are different colors. Where if it's pink, then you'll need to turn in 4 pink cards in order to claim that route. If it's red, you'll have to turn in 5 red cards. When you turn in the cards, you'll place your trains on there to show that you've claimed it. Once a route is claimed, that's the only player who will be able to connect those 2 cities. So for instance, I now control this route between Omaha and Helena. No other player is going to be able to put trains there. I will also score for this 5 trains 10 points. The number of trains that you put on the board will score you points. If you put 1 train on the board, it's 1 point, 2 trains, 2 points, 3 trains, 4 points, 4 trains, 7 points, 5 is 10, and if you manage to get one of the 6 routes, you'll score 15 points. Now some cities have 2 routes. If you manage to place your trains on one of the routes, you can never claim the other route. Only one player is allowed to, you can only claim 1 route on any 2 routes. So for instance, these 4 black and 4 orange, only one player can claim the black. He'll never be able to claim the orange. That leaves those routes available for other players. These gray routes can be claimed with any card. So for instance, if I wanted this 2 route here, I could turn in any 2 colors in order to claim this route. Now another card you can use to claim routes is a wild card. The wild card, you can tell it's wild because it has a little box, has these boxes here that have any color underneath. It also has a J in the upper right corner in case you are colorblind. So for instance, if I wanted to claim this 2 route, you can only claim routes with cards that are the same color. So I couldn't claim this 2 route, even though it's for any color, I couldn't use 2 cards of a different color. They have to be the same. But I could use a card and a wild card in order to claim that route. So that's how you claim routes, which is one of the things you'll be able to do. At the beginning of the game, we also want to turn up the 5 cards from the draw deck, like this, because that's one of the actions players will be able to do. The next thing we're going to pass out at the start of the game are these ticket cards. Every player is going to get 3 ticket cards to start. Now these ticket cards are your main way of scoring points in the game, aside from claiming routes. Every ticket card has 2 cities. The object of scoring points with the ticket cards is to be able to connect the 2 cities with your trains. So for instance, if I could connect Houston here with Winnipeg by having a connection route, an unbroken route of trains, even if it goes across the board. So for instance, this would all still be considered connected. I would score 12 points at the end of the game. So that's a connected route from Houston to Winnipeg. I could also have gone a different route. But as long as I have an unbroken chain of trains between one city on the card and the other one, I'll score 12 points. If at the end of the game I do not have a connected route between those 2 cities, I lose 12 points. Every card you take, you have to make those connections in order to score those points or they count against you. So at the beginning of the game, one of the first choices you have to look at is all the cards that you have and decide whether you can make those during the course of the game or not. You have to keep at least 1 of these 3 cards. You can discard the other 2. So let's say I keep the 12 and discard these 2. That would be my start. So he'll keep 1, 2, and 1. After we've gotten rid of those cards, we would be ready to start playing. On your turn, you will do one of 3 things. The first thing you can do is draw train cards. You can draw any of the 5 cards that are up, or off the top of the deck. You get 2 draws. So I could take this yellow card, and I get to see what the next card is. And then I could take another card, including the second card off the top of the deck. So I could take this card. Those go to my hand. Now, if one of these cards was a wild card, let's say that this is a wild card, I get 2 draws, except if I take a wild card. If I take another card and turn over, I cannot take with my second draw a wild card. The wild card counts as 2 trains during the draw phase. So I'm forced to take one of these 4 remaining cards or something off the top of the deck. Now, if during the draw from the top of the deck I get a wild card, that's a legal play, and you're fine to keep that in your hand. You just can't take this face-up wild card with your second draw. Now, hand size, you can have it's unlimited, so you can have any number of cards in your hand that you want. They don't score you any points at the end of the game, and that doesn't count against you either, so you can have as many of these as you want in your hand. But you will want to use these to claim routes on the board. As the game goes on, the second thing you can do for your turn, instead of taking train cards, is to claim a route. You play a number of cards of the same color in order to claim a route. So I could play these 3 orange to claim this route from Salt Lake City to Las Vegas. I would place 3 trains on the board to show that that route has been claimed. I score points. In this case, I would score 4 points for laying my train. I go up 4 points. These are discarded, and that's the end of my turn. You can only claim 1 route during your turn, and you do that in lieu of doing anything else. So you either, right now on your turn, you can draw cards or claim a route. Now the last thing you can do on your turn, if you don't want to take cards or claim a route, is you can take ticket cards. You'll take 3 of these, and you will have to keep at least 1. If you take ticket cards at all, you're going to keep 1 to add to your ticket pile. And again, remember that you have to connect the 2 cities that are on the ticket card. The point value gives an indication of how hard it is. The higher the point value is, the farther the 2 cities are apart on the board. In this case, I have 11, 12, and 13. These 3 tickets are relatively the same in regards to their difficulty to complete, but they're all on different sides of the board. This is Vancouver to Santa Fe, Boston to Miami, and Denver to Pittsburgh. Now, since I already have Winnipeg to Houston, I might want to take, I guess, Vancouver to Santa Fe. I might be able to make that. They're both on the western side here, over sort of middle west. So I'm going to be focusing my game on this side of the board. I would discard the other 2 cards. They go face down underneath here. And that's now, at the end of the game, if I manage to make these routes, I would score an additional 25 points. Or, if I fail to make those, I'm going to lose 25 points. Now, at the end of the game is going to be triggered when somebody gets down to either 2, 1, or 0 trains. If at the end of your turn you have just placed and you're down to 2 trains, that triggers the end of the game. Each player is going to get 1 more turn, including you. If you're at 0 trains and it comes to your last turn, there's not going to be anything you're going to be able to do because you can't put more trains on the board if you're out of trains. But you could still take tickets if you wanted to, or just pass. Once we're all done, that's the end. We score tickets. Each player will then count up the longest route of trains. Whoever has the longest connected route of trains will score an additional 10 points and add that to their score. Whoever has the most points at the end wins. And that's Ticket to Ride.